Most men think attraction has to be announced. A woman has to say something, do something obvious, make the first move in some clear, unmistakable way, or else they assume nothing's there. But that's not how most women communicate interest, especially women who are a little more reserved, a little more cautious, or simply raised in a generation where subtlety was the norm rather than directness. The truth is, women send signals constantly, quiet ones, physical ones, timing-based ones, and most men walk right past them because they're waiting for something louder. Today, we're breaking down 7 signals women send when they want you closer, and I want you to pay very close attention to number 4, because it's the one almost every man misinterprets completely. Signal 1. She creates small reasons to be near you. This is one of the most consistent signals in all of attraction psychology, and it's also one of the easiest to overlook because it disguises itself as coincidence. She sits a little closer than she needs to. She finds a reason to walk over when you're standing across the room. She lingers near you at a gathering instead of circulating like she does with everyone else. None of these moments look dramatic on their own. That's exactly the point. Attraction rarely announces itself with fireworks. It shows up in small, repeated choices about where someone positions their body in relation to yours. If you start noticing that she consistently ends up near you, not because circumstances forced it, but because she chose it, that's not random. That's proximity seeking, and it's one of the clearest nonverbal signals there is. Signal 2. She remembers details you didn't think mattered. You mention, in passing, that you don't like cilantro, or that your knee's been bothering you, or that you're seeing your grandkids next weekend. Weeks later, she brings it up. She asks how your knee is doing. She orders something without cilantro without you even having to say anything. She asks how the weekend with your grandkids went. This kind of memory isn't accidental, and it's not something people do for information that doesn't matter to them. When someone genuinely wants to be closer to you, their brain prioritizes the details of your life. It's a subconscious form of investment. People remember what they care about, and if she's remembering the small things, it means you've made more of an impression than you might realize. Signal 3. Her texting rhythm shifts when it's you. This one requires a little bit of observation over time, but it's incredibly telling. Pay attention not just to whether she texts back, but how she texts back. Does she ask follow-up questions instead of giving one-word answers? Does she text you first sometimes without being prompted? Does the conversation naturally continue instead of dying out after a single exchange? Women who aren't interested tend to give practical, efficient responses. Women who want to be closer tend to extend the conversation, even in small ways, asking questions that keep things going rather than letting them end. If her texts consistently invite more conversation rather than closing it down, that's her signaling that she wants the connection to continue. Signal 4, and this is the one most men get completely wrong. She pulls back sometimes, and men mistake it for disinterest. Here's where most men make their biggest mistake in reading women's signals. A woman who's genuinely interested doesn't move toward you in a straight, uninterrupted line. She moves closer, and then, sometimes, she pulls back a little. She might go quiet for a day. She might seem slightly more reserved after a moment of real closeness. And most men interpret this pulling back as rejection, as a sign that they misread the situation, and they panic, withdraw, or worse, start chasing in a way that actually pushes her further away. But here's what's actually happening in a lot of these cases. Real emotional investment can feel vulnerable, especially for a woman who's been hurt before, especially for a woman who's a little older and has learned to protect her heart more carefully. That small pullback isn't disinterest, it's often self-protection. It's her processing the fact that she's starting to feel something and giving herself a little space to make sure she's not moving too fast. The mistake men make is treating this pullback as a final answer instead of a natural rhythm. The right response isn't to disappear, and it isn't to chase harder either. It's to stay steady. Continue being warm, continue being present, without escalating pressure. Women who are genuinely interested almost always come back toward you again after this kind of pause, as long as you didn't panic and make the pullback feel like it confirmed some kind of rejection. This single misunderstanding, mistaking a natural pullback for disinterest, is probably responsible for more missed connections than almost anything else on this list. Signal 5. She asks about your life beyond the surface. There's a difference between polite conversation and genuine curiosity, and most people can feel that difference even if they can't quite articulate it. If she's asking about your history, your family, your past relationships, what your life used to look like and what you want it to look like now, that's not small talk. Small talk stays on the surface. Genuine interest digs deeper, because people who want to be closer to you want to actually understand who you are, not just fill silence. Signal 6. She introduces you into her world. This might look like mentioning you to her friends, inviting you to something involving her family, or simply talking about future plans that include you without much hesitation. Women are generally more protective of their social circles than men realize, and when a woman starts folding you into her world, introducing you to people who matter to her, that's a sign she's already begun imagining you as part of her life going forward, not just someone she's spending time with in the moment. Signal 7. She gets quietly nervous around you in ways she doesn't around others. This one takes a bit of attentiveness to catch, but it's incredibly reliable. Watch how she behaves around you compared to how she behaves around other people in a group setting. Does she laugh a little more easily at things you say? Does she seem slightly more self-conscious, adjusting her hair, her clothing, her posture, specifically when you're near? This kind of nervous energy is different from general shyness. It's specific to you, and it shows up because attraction activates a bit of nervous system arousal that most people can't fully hide, no matter how composed they try to appear. Now, here's the important thread that runs through all 7 of these signals. None of them are loud. None of them are the dramatic, unmistakable gestures that movies and younger dating culture have trained men to expect. They're quiet, consistent, and cumulative, and that's exactly why so many men miss them, especially men who are used to more direct signals, or who've been out of the dating world long enough that reading these subtleties feels unfamiliar again. The real skill here isn't just noticing one signal in isolation. It's noticing the pattern over time, and understanding that closeness communicated through actions is often more honest than closeness communicated through words. Words can be careful, calculated, even performative. Consistent behavior, the kind that shows up in small moments across days and weeks, is much harder to fake. So, if you've been wondering whether a woman in your life is interested, stop waiting for a dramatic announcement. Start paying attention to the proximity she creates, the details she remembers, the way her texting rhythm shifts, and especially, how she behaves after a moment of closeness. If she pulls back briefly and then returns, that's not rejection. That's a woman being careful with something she's starting to value. Understanding this changes everything about how you show up in these situations. Instead of second-guessing every quiet moment, you start recognizing it for what it actually is. And instead of chasing or disappearing when she needs a little space, you learn to stay steady, patient, and present, which is exactly the kind of response that lets real connection continue to build. If this helped you see something differently, stick around, because next time we're talking about why staying calm, even when everything in you wants to react, is one of the most attractive qualities a senior man can bring into any relationship.